You think you can just leave for over a month, Frederic, drink kombucha and expect people to love you again? Yes. Oh, no earrings. Much better. Hi friends, my name is finally graduated. I know, thank you. Yes, I will take it. I will give it, keep on coming. Come on. If you care about my life, stick around, but if you don't, I'll probably talk about the actual topic in a few minutes. I've been gone just because taking some personal time, and also college was a lot. I had finals, so you'll find out what that was all about soon. I just wanted to get this video out first just because I recently watched the show and I want to talk about it while it's still on my mind. Since I finally have no job, this is all I'm going to be doing. I'll be doing a lot more art videos. I'll be moving soon, so expect a lot of painting videos. I told you I would do them soon. That wasn't a lie. I just needed the time to be able to do it. And I'll also be gaming a lot, so yeah. Please follow me here because that's the only hobby I'll have outside of this. And it gets kind of lonely when you're only talking to yourself the whole time, which is what I'm doing right now. For some reason, I have been deemed the person to dictate whether or not a queer show is good because y'all keep asking me to review this show, and I don't consider myself a review channel. I just like talking about shows that I have opinions on. So Heartstopper is a new Netflix show that came out recently, and oh, get it? Came out. Ooh! It's a queer romance show. It's a coming of age. It's set in high school, but it's also British, so you know it's good. There's this thing with British TV show like Sex Education, Bridgerton, anything across the seas for some reason has been better. Like Young Royals. I don't know what Netflix in the US is doing, but please stop it with the Euphoria. Like, I'm not a fan. If you haven't watched the show, spoilers ahead. I'm gonna be doing a quick summary of each episode, but also talking about the themes and just details that I noticed that I thought I should point out to people who care. We're gonna go over the characters, the plot. We're gonna treat this like some Shakespeare play in English class. We're going in because I love this show. Little disclaimer, I watched this last night all in one setting because that's how I think you should watch a show like this. Each episode was like 25 minutes, so it was easy, and there was only 8, I think. Also, I didn't know anything about it going in. All I knew was that there were 2 boys who were really in love because I kept seeing it on my YouTube recommendations for some reason. I didn't watch the fan cams, didn't watch the videos, didn't watch any TikToks because I don't watch TikTok, I just upload when I want. So I have no outside information going into this. And I didn't even know it was British before I watched it. Episode 1, Meet. We meet the character Charlie, who is year 10. He's 14 years old, and he basically is in a secret relationship with this guy named Ben, who's a year older than him, but Ben isn't out yet. Charlie has come out since last year. And it's toxic. You can clearly see that Ben isn't interested in doing physicalness outside of the locker rooms or just in the secret room. He just treats Charlie as this like little side thing, you know, that I'll have fun with.
You're so cute. Hey. What? Just hi. Why are you talking to me? I don't even know who you are.
No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you.
And I just want to say, there's already a Fall Raven. I'm so glad about that. I know there's enough representation, but I'm always glad to see another fellow person who likes them. 5 minutes in, it's already gay, which I think is really nice and a change of pace for shows because previously, like in most high school shows, gay things are like 3 episodes in, it's a side character usually, and it's like this big coming out for them. It's time to get it more casual. Everyone is gay in 2022, so you're not special. But already you can tell that this show is going to be about unapologetic queer love.
Vegas, let me hear y'all make some noise!
Which is what the director said they wanted. This is what the actors said they got from the script. When you list off character traits, you don't say their sexuality anymore because there's so much more to them. And Netflix still needs to catch on to that. If you want my reactions to the episodes, I have recorded them. I might do like a big thing on YouTube. I don't know how much I can put in just because YouTube might demonetize it, but I'll see what I can do. This show had me on edge the whole time. It was really good. Even though this relationship with Ben lasts 1 episode basically, it still captures a really big aspect of queer relationships, and it's the fact that you have to hide them a lot. And you don't really have the time to show your love to them, your affection in public, just because usually one person is in the closet, or you're both in the closet, or you're just not ready to come out to the public because that's fucking it sucks sometimes. It's not an easy thing, basically, and at least they're not demonizing Ben for not coming out. There's this thing in this community where some people are like, ugh, I don't want to date someone who's in the closet, I don't have time for that, and you can respect that, but it's not okay to like pressure them to come out or make fun of them because they're so closeted or act like you're superior to them because you're out and they're not. Like, that's just being gross. And the show never mentions that. They never take those stances, which I'm glad because we shouldn't do that. They also use these 2D animations, which is so up my alley. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that's in there. And it usually portrays the emotions someone's feeling. So for this, we have leaves that are going around, sort of like butterflies, but not literal. Just like the idea of something swirling inside of you. And then eventually we see actual CGI leaves, maybe they're real, and we meet the friend group. So we have Tao, who I think I look like if I put on a beanie. Let me just, like, no? I mean, minus the makeup and the outfit. And we see the new crush named Nick, who is a year older. This person is apparently above their league. They're on the rugby team. They're heterosexual to begin with. They're popular. They're athletic. They're basically everything that Charlie thinks he can't have. Also part of the friend group is Isaac. They don't really have any lines in the show, and I just wish they made more of that character, but either way, he's part of the friend group as well. And then we have Elle, who is at an all-girls school, and they didn't mention this too much, but basically she had to move to different schools because she transitioned. I didn't understand the whole details, but she is trans and it is played by a trans actor, so if you want your trans representation, go follow them, go support them. We'll talk about that more. Just gonna get to the plot first. Charlie has this bond with the art teacher because every gay person has a bond with their art teacher. And the teacher's actually a friend. They're also gay, eventually you find out, and they have a pride pin always on their jacket, but that place is basically a safe area for Charlie. He likes to sit there and eat lunch. I've also been there. And I'm just glad this teacher is more than just a teacher in a show. Like, they have emotions. They're not just there to give out homework, and they actually have a personality. I feel like most teachers for some reason don't know anything about their students and are robotic, or they're just some really mean teacher. It's like no in between.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh my god.
But eventually Charlie sees that Ben has a girlfriend outside of class, and he's like, you know what, I'm done with you. Go away, I'm gonna go on my new era. So he plays the drums, he's very good at that. He's also very fast at running. And that's when Nick notices, and he says, do you want to be on the rugby team? That's the last time I'm gonna do that. So Charlie joins. I would never, personally, but I appreciate the confidence. Nick is supposedly the best player on the rugby team, and he starts helping out Charlie with how to play rugby. They start tackling each other. Yeah, very, And one day after practice, Ben pulls up and says, yo, why are you avoiding me? Admit you like me. I'm sorry. Let's get back together. Let's keep this thing. And then he kisses Charlie without consent, but thankfully Nick is there to slam him into a wall and say, he said stop. Back off my man. And that's how they start texting. So they go back and forth. There's a lot of texting in this show, and that's how they translate emotions, and it's a good way to represent conversations because it's what kids do, it's what teenagers do. And most of the time, I feel like texting turns into this transition scene where like 80,000 people are texting at once and somehow you have to keep up. They actually take the time to let you read, which I appreciate because we're not all fast typers and readers. And it's not some Crazy Rich Asians moment where like somehow 1,000 bubbles go off at once. They also showed these texting scenes as a way of showing the complicated emotions Charlie goes through because there's scenes where he's trying to type out 3 different things at once and they're all things he's feeling, but he only says one of them. Like instead of I love you, I want to be your friend, I want to date you, he just says thank you with a little X. And Nick sees that X and says, oh, I feel something. Is there something? Something in here. For a 27-minute episode, that's a lot. I didn't feel that. Like usually I feel like 30-minute episodes are super short. These felt long, but in the best way. Episode 2, Crush. Really sad they didn't use Conan Gray's song Crush Culture, but it's fine. The soundtrack is good, but needed some Conan Gray. So Nick starts stalking Charlie on social, and he sees that Charlie posted this picture of him before going into the rugby gym area. What's that word? It's not in my vocab, but locker room? And just notice it's very blue. They play with color a lot, blue and orange. And instantly Nick realizes, oh my god, they were bullying him. The other people on the rugby team were like, why did they even invite Charlie to be on the team? Isn't he gay? They're basically treating him as the gay guy who can't do sports. But Nick is very aware of how Charlie would be feeling. They even portray the worst case scenario, and it's also animated beautifully. And then you see Charlie has this lo-fi aesthetic gay panic home screen. I know y'all got that too. There's also an orange sign, keep that in mind. They're texting with each other. Nick is not scared to quadruple text. Y'all shouldn't be either. And way to insert yourself into Charlie's life. That also wasn't a sex joke. There's an orange hand and a blue sign. I'm not making this up, y'all. And in that conversation, Charlie just flat out says, you know what? Thanks for being my heterosexual friend, which like very specific thing to say, guts to say that, but it was basically him trying to confirm like, you're straight, right? Because Charlie's friend group keeps saying, he's straight, why are you going for him? You're gonna get upset, just don't go for it. And Charlie's like, don't worry, like he's just my friend. He's straight already, so it's fine, I'll get over him. He even goes to his art teacher for advice, saying, how do you get over a straight crush? And he gives realistic advice. You just either torture yourself and continue forward or just distance yourself, which none of y'all do probably. So go ahead, suffer for eternity. Say this with me. Crushing on a heterosexual confirmed person is just straight torture. It's not worth it. Get a grip. It's high school. Move on from the football jock, you bottoms. We also get introduced to Tara and Darcy, and I also don't know why Darcy's not in uniform. I don't know if a uniform is required in these schools, but she just sticks out, and it's gonna be for a reason. But just so you know, they flip-flop between these schools. I'm not gonna mention each time they do it, so you're just gonna have to follow along. Nick then invites Charlie to his house already. How fast is this going? Blue sweatshirt, orange sweater, just saying. And then Nick gives Charlie his blue sweatshirt. Ah! And then they play in the snow. They basically have this very cheesy, cute moment. It's very disgusting to see because I'm like, damn, I wish I had that, but it's very cute. I say that as I have a boyfriend, but it's like, you know, I just wish I had that in high school. It's just a little sad for me watching the show because it's like the life force is draining from me at this very moment. But Nick's mom points out he seems much more like himself when he's around Charlie. And I know what that means. Charlie finds out Nick kissed Tara back when they were 13 years old, which doesn't mean anything actually, but he wanted to find out if Nick actually still likes Tara. And then Elle asked Tara, you like him? To which Tara says no, because Darcy's my girlfriend and I'm a lesbian. And that's it. They just move on because that's okay to move on. We don't have to go fetishize, we don't have to sexualize this shit. They're just lesbians. Charlie then invites Nick to his house and they're watching a movie and somehow Charlie falls asleep. How are you gonna fall asleep next to your crush? Are you faking it? Are you trying to wait for him to lean in for the kiss? Nick goes in to grab his hand but doesn't do it. But eventually he does hug Charlie for like a clean 5 seconds. And at this point I've realized they make this relationship super awkward at times. There's like 10-second pauses before they say bye to each other. They always say hi, hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi. Hi. Hi. Hi. Hi.
When they greet each other, it's just the great representation of queer panic, specifically gay panic, especially as a twink. Charlie then texts his friend group like, what does it mean when a guy hugs you for like a good 80 seconds? And then Elle says, you know what, I can definitely confirm that Nick does not like Tara. And she doesn't even do it by revealing Tara's sexuality because you don't know if she wants to be out to everyone. And that was like a detail that I don't think many people would think about. Some people might ask, well, why didn't Elle just say Tara's a lesbian? Because Elle is not that type of person. And it's also very considerate of her to do that, just in general, for them to show that you don't have to out someone necessarily. So I thought it was very smart for them to do that because it not only shows us more about who Elle is as a person, she's very detail oriented, that's the word. And also you don't have to necessarily out someone when you're talking to your friends because you don't know how they feel. And then the ending scene, Nick starts searching up, am I gay? What does it mean to be gay? Don't worry, we all have to do that at some point. Episode 3, Kiss. The opening scene, same thing as the ending scene. Nick is spiraling down the internet. He's searching up what it means to be gay. What is gay? Homosexual. Heterosexual versus homosexual. Homosexuality laws. Gay marriage. Oh, hate crimes then. Oh my god, gay quizzes. Oh, religion. Family doesn't like you. A lot of overwhelming topics because that's what happens when you look that stuff up. You just spiral down BuzzFeed quizzes and bad history lessons on the internet. Like, please don't get all your queer history on there. And it's enough to make him cry because it's just overwhelming. Like, this is a lot for someone to realize. And I'm glad they're able to show like a guy just crying, because it's not that big of a deal and he shouldn't be ashamed of it. They didn't portray it as something to be ashamed of either. It's just you feel sorry for him. And this also shows another side of what it means to be queer. You don't necessarily find out until the right person comes, because before then Nick only liked women, and it just so happened that Charlie was the person who changed his mind or made him realize, because Charlie's just that type of person. He's everything that Nick didn't realize he wanted. Charlie said he knew from the beginning, which some of us do, but it also takes a while for someone to realize, because people suck, and it takes a rare type of person for you to realize, that person does not suck. Not every gay guy likes every male body in existence. I mean, some people do, but like, they're horny. It's about who they are as a whole, not just their body. Speaking of bodies, we can see Charlie looking away at Nick's body during the locker room again. And then tension starts stirring up between Tao and Charlie, because Tao, he is straight, by the way. I forgot to mention that. He's the token straight friend as quoted by him, but he's also very sensitive and emotional. Not in a bad way. He just cares about his friends to a fault sometimes, and he doesn't want to be alone. He said this early on. He felt like Charlie was leaving them for Nick. From Tao's perspective, Nick's friends bully him and Charlie, so why does Charlie want to be friends with Nick, especially if he's straight? Charlie's not giving our friend group as much attention. He's starting to leave us for Nick, which, like, yeah, love makes us do stupid things, so don't forget about your friends. And there's a party for Harry, who's he's the antagonist easily, and he's part of Nick's friend group. When I say Nick's friends, I mean the people on the rugby team, because that is his only friend group before the new friend group. So Nick and Charlie go to the party, and Tara and Darcy are also there, and they're being open in public. They're kissing each other. Nick eventually finds out Tara's lesbian and then asks her, how'd you know, like, what does it mean to you? And it's a great scene because it's not a big coming out announcement. I feel like a lot of times people go Love Simon with it, which is like fine to do, but it's not the reality. And not once in the show do they make it a big announcement. Thank God for that. Eventually, Harry starts bullying Charlie, and Nick eventually says, "You're homophobic." And I don't know if it's just me, but like, I feel like it's so rare for someone to say that in a show. I think we see a lot of homophobia in shows, not in a bad way. I mean, like, we see a homophobic character, but not necessarily someone specifically call them homophobic. There's this one show where like a daughter eventually calls out their mom and flat out says, "Because you're a racist, mom," and like that, it had that similar weight of like, I don't really hear that too often in a show. I hear that in real life a lot, but I guess they're scared to say those words on television. There's also a straight girl named Imogen who is falling for Nick. Just keep that in mind. So Nick's trying to find Charlie because he ran off, and then he eventually sees Tara and Darcy once again being unconditionally in love with each other, unapologetic. They highlight this scene. So glad they did it. It's very cute. Give the lesbians what they deserve. This also helps Nick realize, like, oh my god, that is what I need. That's what I'm missing from my life. Where is Charlie? They're eventually in a quiet room, and they're like, and they kiss. I'm not gonna talk about the scene too much. You need to watch it to feel the emotions. It's just very tense because it's like 8 seconds in between each movement. It's that slow, and I'm glad they gave it the time. They let people like have that tension. They let it build up. But then Nick leaves because he hears Harry calling for him, so that proceeds to make Charlie go home, and he calls his dad. I'm glad to see a healthy parental relationship, specifically with a father. Those exist. They can exist too, especially with gay guys. They don't have to always be toxic. We need more accepting fathers. And Nick is like, oh my god, he already left. What did I do? He's always aware of what he did, and I'm glad that like they don't draw out this miscommunication thing. This show has a great pace. You don't ever get tired of some plot line being drawn out. They're not trying to draw this, you didn't communicate to me, so I'm gonna ignore you for 3 episodes type of thing, like right in the next scene. Not even before the episode ends. The next day, Nick is already there at the doorstep in the rain to say, "I'm sorry" to Charlie. Do we all want our crush to be in front of our doorstep in the wet rain? Yeah, so there you go. Episode 4, Secret. Charlie finally is able to be completely honest about how he's feeling. He basically says all of the things he was bottling up, like, "I want to be with you. I'm sorry that I pressured you to kiss you. I didn't know how you were feeling. I just did in the moment. If you don't want to be with me ever again, that's fine. Like, I just want to be your friend." And then Nick's like, "Stop it. Let me kiss you."
See if maybe there's a chance we can still be friends.
Charlie.
I don't want to lose you because I did something stupid.
Charlie.
And just note, the light is off when Charlie wakes up, but it's on when Nick is in the room. And I know this is a cute scene, but like, get those nasty ass wet clothes off of the bed, take your shoes off. Like, what is this household? No wet clothes on the bed. Don't even touch me with that. So Nick asked, can we keep this a secret? Like, I literally just learned out I like men, dude, so can you be okay with that? And then Charlie says it's fine, which obviously is not fine to him, but it's a different relationship between Ben because Nick actually reciprocates that attention back. But we all know deep down Charlie wants more, but this is where you start to see another layer of Charlie. He's not the type of person to lash out at the other person. Charlie is someone who bottles his own emotions and thinks he is the problem. Like, I'm holding Nick back. I'm the reason Nick is suffering. Also, this umbrella has 2 colors now. It's on purpose. So they have lunch together, and Nick is still aware of this. He asks Charlie, are you sure this isn't like what you and Ben had? And Charlie's like, no, this is totally different. There's a rugby match later this week, and Charlie still can't tackle people, and Harry's still teasing him about it. Then at the girls' school, Tara and Darcy have become a hot topic just because they recently announced their relationship to the public through social media.
Apparently they were kissing at Harry's party. Like, properly kissing.
Yeah, well, some girls who are friends just do that.
Actually, when you think about it, there are 1,200 people at this school, so at least a few of them are going to be lesbians. Maybe you're a lesbian and you have no idea.
To which Imogen shows up and is like, are you sure you don't like Nick? So I can have him? Because we're basically dating.
I'm a lesbian.
Okay.
I'm not like homophobic. I'm an ally.
Congratulations.
We thank you for your service.
So at the match, everyone is there. We have Nick's friend group, Ben is there too, and then we have Charlie's friend group, including Darcy and Tara. And we see that Darcy is someone who is, she's outgoing. You clearly see that from her outfit, and she's not someone to like have a filter. So she's like, I feel like y'all have, are y'all a couple? I'm getting gay intuition. So she doesn't read the room too often, but that's also because she doesn't have all the context. And I think it's like a nice little thing to put in there because they're able to show that through her clothes and through little remarks like that. This happens again after. During the match, it starts raining. Nick's team is getting totally, I can't say the word. Let's just say getting bashed by this other team. And no offense to y'all, but I know damn well some of y'all want to be Charlie in this scene. Emotions are piling up now because Charlie is getting wiped out. He got a nosebleed, he missed a tackle, and that was his first time actually trying to tackle, and then everyone's laughing at him, and then Charlie's friends are like, oh no, what happened? Nick is still afraid he's turning into Ben by hiding their relationship. It's basically every gay guy's nightmare right now, and then it all stops when they call off the match. Charlie and Nick talk to each other, and Nick's like, I can assure you, I'm not turned off by you wanting attention, like, please don't think that. They communicate their emotions a lot in this show, and I'm glad to see it. There's a lot of focus on these 2 characters, obviously, but it's like, that stuff happens in relationships. They're both open to talking to each other about how they're feeling. Some of y'all should do that too. This is complicated, which is a good thing because that means the show effectively communicated the nuances within this relationship. One person is in the closet, wants to come out, isn't ready yet, and also doesn't want their other partner to be upset about it. And the other person understands that, but also wants more. And none of them are blaming each other. Not toxic. But then the end of the scene, Imogen asks Nick out to date, and then Nick can't say no because everyone is around them. So he's like, sure, yeah, let's go. Episode 5, Friend. We open with the friend group playing Monopoly. Glad to see people can still play that game. They really show like teenagers being teenagers in this. They never talk about TikTok. It's never about dances. Like, I'm glad that we can still see teenagers being kids. Don't let the kid era die, y'all. Like, be weird, be stupid, have fun with your life. Don't be pressured by social media. And also Charlie's turning 15, which I'm like, 15? Child. I thought they were at least 17. But also, all these characters are either recently graduating or still in school. Like college, I mean, or even high school. I don't know all their ages, but I'm pretty sure the actor of Charlie is 20 years old. But they're also all able to look more young because of the way they're dressed. And I'm glad to see people who are more close to that age playing these characters. Not really here to see a 35-year-old play a 16-year-old who also has sex. Like, a lot of weird things happening right there that don't need to happen. They also don't show sex in this show. Glad to see that. It's like sex education, but just education. Charlie invites Nick to his party and Nick says yes, obviously, but then Nick's like, oh shoot, that's the same time as my date with Imogen. Gonna have to figure that out. Mom, how do I do this? And his mom gives great advice. Don't date someone just because you feel sorry for them, or don't pity someone just because you feel sorry for them. Imogen's dog just died, mind you. That's why he didn't want to say no. But then she says, don't worry, the right girl will come along soon. And that's a very like specific thing that I think a lot of gay guys understand, where it's like, it's not a girl. I can specifically remember back in like 5th grade, my parents would be like, do you have a girlfriend? Do you like anyone? And I would say no, and they'd be like, well, don't worry, you'll find the right girl one day. And every time in my head, I'm like, I don't think it's gonna be a girl, Dad. And it's just something that straight people don't have to think about. And I'm glad to see this represented, because it's a very small, minute thing that we deal with, but it also impacts you a lot because you're thinking about your parents this whole time. So yeah, it's nice to see that. Someone who produced this definitely is gay. Like, there's no way. This is someone's story. So at the party, they're bowling. Tao and Charlie are talking because Tao's like, I overheard that Nick is going on a date with Imogen and I don't want you to get hurt, and I feel like Nick is still playing with your emotions. And Charlie's like, no, he's not, because he's my friend. Still doesn't out him. Glad to see that. But Nick overhears that, doesn't lie, and tells Charlie, hey, I overheard that. Thanks for not outing me. They apologized again. I forgot what they really apologized about, but they're very considerate. It's a healthy resolution. They're cute, whatever. Be cute in front of an arcade. But every time they understand boundaries and consent. Like, it's always, is it okay for me to kiss you? Are you okay if I hold you? Like, are you sure? They're always asking this. And then eventually Elle's playing games with Tao, and then you see some pixel art spark. Pixel art! There's pixel art, y'all. But Elle likes Tao. Yes, confirmed. There's another relationship potentially on the way. Episode 6, Girls. To summarize, this is Tara and Darcy's episode. We start off with my usual routine of finding new movies to watch, but it's actually Nick trying to find movies to come out to. He's like, hey, I wonder what happens if I show my mom this? What if I show you RuPaul's Drag Race? Mom, how are you gonna react?
Oh, Jesus. Gross.
But then Nick thinks he's bi, so he starts looking up vlogs, like literally a YouTuber talking about how he's bisexual. So accurate. Like, I think we all did this growing up. My people, Tyler Oakley, Joey Graceffa, Connor Franta, that whole era of people coming out, I was like, eat that up. Let me soak in this information. Nice to see someone who's bisexual in this show. I don't really think that occurs unless it's to progress a storyline of wanting to date a lot of, unless it's a stereotypical thing. So this show doesn't really talk about those stereotypes. They just show characters who are a sexuality, but there's so much more to them than just that. Because it's what? Unapologetically queer. So Tara is witnessing some mixed reactions to her post about them coming out on social media. There's a lot of people who are like, oh my god, good for you, yeah, cute, heart. But there's also some nasty ass, specifically men, they show their profile pictures, who are like, I didn't see you as a lesbian, you're too cute to be a lesbian. Like, just gross comments, which is like a thing that they have to deal with. Lesbians are the most fetishized and sexualized, I'll say, group worldwide. And there's always going to be ugly men in their unsolicited opinions. So yeah, it's like important to see that these are children, mind you, like a 13-year-old, no, probably, I think they're 13 or 14-year-old coming out and receiving comments from men, like adults and just other boys who were like just being gross, being nasty. They shouldn't deal with it, but I mean, since when do boys know their boundaries? It's all things that queer people are too familiar with, but it's through a female lens this time because it's different. It's a different experience, and we see this because the straight men are being nasty, and also the girls are being quote-unquote bitches about it because they're actually being disgusting in person, which I've never seen. I've never had to deal with that, luckily, and I hope none of y'all have to, but I think that's very ballsy of them to laugh in front of them and also be like, lesbians are disgusting, like off to the side, 2 feet away. We all know that conversation. Do queer characters have to deal with queer pain in order to be queer in the show? Answer is no, always. And I do think that queer characters go through a lot, typically, throughout the shows. But in some cases, it's necessary. I don't want to say necessary, but like, it makes sense. Like in Schitt's Creek, there's no reason for it to be there. And they talk about why, because it's supposed to be unconditional love. This show, however, Heartstopper, it's about high school. For them to not talk about homophobia, I think is a little ignorant because the show is specifically catered or at least trying to target that demographic, you know, middle school through college. Sorry to the adults watching. I'm an adult watching, but like they're meant to help those people who are closeted or going through a queer relationship understand more about it. So it does make sense that there's homophobia because it's still a thing happening in society. For us to not talk about it and be like, if we don't show it in shows, it won't exist, is a little ignorant in my opinion. And I don't think there was ever a time where the homophobia was enough for someone to not want to be themselves, besides in Ben, but that's like his own journey. So there's my stance. I want to know what y'all think. Like, I think it'd just be a little bit empty to not see any homophobia, which is a little bit sad to say. Obviously, we can have shows in high school that are just like no homophobia. Like, it'd be very cute and it'd just be probably like a regular high school drama talking about trivial shit. But because this is specifically about queer love and the journeys queer people go through of all different kinds, I think that's why it's in there. I'm trying to think, like, if it wasn't in there, we wouldn't even see the journey that Nick goes through and trying to come out. We wouldn't understand how difficult it is for someone to be out in high school. Like, these are still conversations that need to be held. Until we've had those conversations, I don't think we can just omit homophobia in all scenarios. Back to the show though, Nick and Charlie are on a date in the park and they're about to kiss, but we see Nick is still afraid to be public about it because they see someone walk by. And there's a parallel because in the beginning of the show, Nick told Charlie, don't ever say sorry. Don't say that S word to me. You don't have to be sorry. And this time, Charlie is the one saying it to Nick. Then Nick comes out to Tara and then gets advice from the lesbians about what to do, how is it like coming out. And once again, the show just goes about this in a brilliant way. Like, I'll just play the clip for you.
Don't feel like you have to come out to anyone before you're ready.
Oh, yeah.
Being out is hard. A lot of people will see you in a different way, and it is a lot to deal with.
You're kind of the first people I've told about Charlie.
Really?
Yeah.
And does it feel good to have told someone?
Yeah. Really does.
Now it's the night of Charlie's recital. He's playing the drums. I have personally never seen drums paired with flutes and string orchestra, but go off, I guess. Since Nick's come out to them, he's like, hey, how about we go on a double date? And then Tara's like, no, let's make it a triple date and let's try to pair Elle and Tao together. And I just want to say, Elle looks so stunning in this outfit. Like, she is the artistic girl and it's everything that I wanted to be in high school. I didn't quite get there, I think. I didn't have the outfits yet back in high school, but I have them now, so I see myself in her. And at the date, there's some tension because Elle clearly notices, because she's very observant as a person, that Darcy is overstepping once again, because Darcy's like, y'all look really good as a couple. You should be good friends if you want to date each other. And no, we shouldn't try to force people together. This time, it's the opposite. Instead of forcing two gay people together that you just meet, we're forcing two straight people together. The tables have turned on y'all. But at that point, there's like a little moment where Tara's like feeling some, I guess, regret about coming out, and eventually they get locked in this room. I don't know how the room locks, but just know that they're in a locked room, so they're talking to each other, and Tara's like, I just didn't know it would be this overwhelming when it happened. Like, I wasn't ready for everything to change.
Talk to me. Everything's changed.
Since we came out?
Yeah.
Do you regret it?
No, I just wasn't prepared for things to...
It's a lot of feelings they have to go through, and it shouldn't be something you have to deal with. But sometimes when you come out, the world changes around you. But they never said that Tara didn't want to be out anymore, because they still love each other, and then they kiss. And then the kiss gets interrupted.
Homophobia! Women here, we got locked in!
And I just think that was like a great moment of Gen Z humor. Some people don't like when people say that. I'm like, it's a joke. Episode 7, Bully. I don't really want to talk about this episode because I feel like it'd be doing a disservice to summarize it. So you should just watch it in full. If you don't know what it's about, look it up or just wait for my reaction. I definitely would post this one because it was just a very impactful episode. There's some triggers, like they actually say the F slur, and I think that's the only curse word in this show, which a lot of impact there. But if I were to complete both episodes 7 and 8, basically Charlie goes through a lot of things that make him think that it's better off for him to be not with Nick, so Nick doesn't have to be hurting. And then Nick's like, you're dumb, like I love you. He doesn't say I love you, but basically I want to be in a relationship with you. and then they eventually just make it public. Not public to the world, they don't make a big announcement. I had a fear that when Nick went to pick up Charlie at the match, there was a rugby match at the school day, I was getting prepared for myself. I thought that Nick was going to hold Charlie's hand and be like, this is my boyfriend. Thankfully that didn't happen. Instead, they phrased it as, we're gonna come out to the people who matter. And I think that's a great way to talk about what coming out should mean to someone. And it ends without too many cliffhangers. Like, we see Nick and Charlie at the beach, they're happy together. Nick comes out to his mom, she's very accepting about it. It was really cute to see. Elle and Tao are not together. I'm glad they didn't make them together because that gives them an excuse for season 2. I want to see that happen. But also, that would be kind of like a lot of relationships to go through. And I think if Tao and Elle got together, it wouldn't necessarily make sense now. Like, they're pacing it well. And that is the show's plot, so let's talk about these characters. I just want to say kudos to the actors for being able to so accurately portray the high school conversations, like just the way they text each other, the way they're typing. I mean, that's the directors probably and the producers doing it, but the script is just so well written. They actually talk like they're in high school. There's no plot twists that are insane. It's predictable, which is good for a reason. I don't want to be surprised by someone suddenly being murdered or someone somehow being an alien, or like, oh my god, I actually am a criminal. Like, I don't need the Riverdale shit. I just need a regular milk chocolate high school experience, like just vanilla, you know? Nothing surprising, no cookies and cream, just give me white bread. I don't need multigrain. And that is not to say it's basic. I personally love all of those things I just mentioned the most. It's just easier to follow a plot and like the show more when you don't have to be constantly surprised by another plot twist, because I think shows put in these crazy plot twists to further the plot. They're like, we ran out of stuff, let's add in this. They never had to do that. Everything flowed throughout the show. For example, there's that point where Imogen wants to go on a date with Nick, and instead of them actually going on the date and then having to deal with that storyline of, oh, you only went on this date because you feel sorry for me? No, I didn't mean like that. Like, that's just another problem that didn't have to occur in the show. Doesn't further anyone's plot point. We're not trying to complete Imogen's storyline. It's not part of her storyline either way. That would have been very unnecessary to add, so I'm glad they didn't keep that in. As for my favorite characters, Elle definitely up there because there's so many details that I noticed while watching. Like, her autocorrect on her phone is the one that has the outline and gives you options to change it, which is totally something she would have. And she also wears glasses, so yeah. Someone else can talk about the fashion. Mina, do the fashion, please. But from what I see, Nick is typically in sporty athletic clothing. Elle is usually artistic. Darcy is very bright and out there compared to the other girls, which I'm still confused. Why is she allowed to have all these clothes when it's a uniform school? But if it's not required, I can definitely see why they did that, because Darcy came out way before Tara. I think they said specifically 3 years before, or at least a year before. So Tara already had the time to develop her style and be able to express herself more through fashion. I might have said Tara, I meant Darcy. But as opposed to Tara, she is still in uniform and she says, I just came out, like I'm still learning more about myself. That's why people still said she doesn't look like a lesbian, which is like, there's no one way to look like that. Charlie, not gonna lie, just kind of reminds me of Otis, where it's like the outfits are kind of the same. They do wear a lot of orange. I noticed this throughout the show. Nick's scenes and outfits have a lot of blue in them. I think I can show how many I saw. And Charlie's scenes and outfits have a lot of orange in them. Why? Not necessarily to be about emotions, in my opinion, because I don't think we have to dig that deep into it. Unless the director explicitly states that's why I did it, I'm not gonna talk about it. But I do think that it was because blue and orange are complementary colors. They're technically opposites on the color wheel. Let me just double check that. Yup. Which means they pair well together, which is like a cute way of saying they're gonna be a couple. They're a good couple. Also, they do use yellow. I'm gonna just assume they're pairing that with orange because that's just all throughout the school. The schools is so cute. Like, what school has those walls? I don't want those walls. Tao, he's the indie kid. He likes films, weird ones, mind you. He has a lot of posters of different bands and different films as well. But he's also a very emotional and sensitive person who is very caring. And I think it's nice to see a straight male specifically be able to show emotions. Like, he wasn't afraid to ever talk about it. Never had to deal with the idea of what it means to be a man and bottling up your emotions, because we don't need that. The way he was able to carry himself throughout the show, I just thought was so fitting. And I think a lot of people should take inspiration from Tao and learn that you can verbally fight and not even have to curse at them. Another thing I mentioned earlier with Elle, she is trans. She's also portrayed by a trans actor. I was a little confused throughout this because they mentioned that she had to transfer schools to an all-girls school. I just thought maybe it's because she's trans, or I guess she didn't want to be at this school anymore. She was bullied. Their transness isn't the only thing that is their character. It's not the only thing that drives their plot. There's so much more to her. Tao doesn't even mention her being trans because it should not matter. And as far as who should play actors, like personally, I do think that trans actors should play trans people. I don't think it's wrong for a straight person to portray a gay character. I also don't think it's a hate crime for a straight person to portray a trans character. It's just the trans experience is so specific. You don't necessarily get that if a straight person plays it. If I think of Pose, I don't think it would have had the same impact if straight actors portrayed them. I also don't have too much of an opinion on this because I don't know all the details about it, and I'm not trans, so I would like to know what y'all's opinions are. Either way, I think I care more that there's a trans actor on the screen in general, and that a trans character is fully fleshed out instead of just one thing. There's some people who say that erases them as a character, but there's also that thing of like, it's not trying to just pass, it's just trying to have people realize that being trans is normal, or should be normal, should be seen as a normal thing, not as something totally different and unique and out of this world. Doesn't have to be a big deal about it. If anything, the people in this show are more homophobic than transphobic, which like very backwards. I'd rather just hear your opinion. Have it be an open conversation, obviously. Ben is one special type of dick. I'm glad they don't demonize the idea of someone being closeted. However, I also really don't like this character, and I know they did that on purpose. I'm glad they're able to make this character not lovable, not redeemable, yet at least, because he clearly was gaslighting Charlie into making him feel bad about himself. He said multiple times, I didn't even like you, I just felt sorry for you. And it was, yeah, gay on gay hate crime. Either way, it was a closeted person lashing out at someone who's out, which, I mean, I've done that. I'm not proud of that. I'm very ashamed, actually. And, I mean, it goes to show, like, that's not okay. Even if you're closeted, even if you have those emotions about yourself and you might be jealous of someone who's out, or you might be envious, that's a you thing. You need to work on that. Isaac, I have a little bit of a slight qualm about him because he didn't have many lines. His first line was episode 2, halfway in. He was there for comedic relief. He was happy. He wasn't really present in a lot of the conversations. Not really sure why. Would have liked to see more about that personally. Minor characters can exist, like Imogen was there, but I felt like Isaac was, I don't know, I didn't even have a storyline with him. It's not something to be mad about. Like, obviously they can't fit every character, and it might have been just too difficult to figure out a storyline for him, but it just felt a little bit weird at times because he would just be silent but also in the scene. Harry, the antagonist, yeah, hated him. Glad he got suspended. Kind of wish they gave him some like hard lesson instead of just like erase him from the story, you know? Like, portrayed a great antagonist. Hard to watch because that is just something you see. It's a bully that you see. It's someone that I saw growing up. People who play off homophobia as a joke and act like you can just say anything about them. They also talk about the stereotypes. Harry himself would say, Charlie doesn't act gay, but he has that voice, which is like something you hear all the time and it shouldn't be a thing. I don't know, maybe that's just me wanting to see a bully get what they deserve, but I just would like to see something in season 2, not something to make him accept everyone all of a sudden. I don't need him to be gay either, please no, but like something that is a lesson that we can see, that the homophobic audience can see if they happen to be watching Vice. I would like to see more of him though. I don't need him to be completely gone from the show. Last things, I'm gonna talk about Charlie and Nick. I just want to say to these actors, I don't know how y'all are able to portray this like gay awkward love so well, but there's so many little details throughout the show where it's like in the beginning they always said hi each other. That's just the way they greeted, but even the way they say it, like it was like hi. It wasn't a confident hey, it was always hi. It was always higher pitch with Charlie. It was very nervous all the time. You could tell it was someone who had a crush saying that, and every time they looked at each other, it was just like hearts in their eyes. Everything Nick said, Charlie would reply with just a giggle and a laugh within his sentence. Very real, to say the least. And I'm glad to see two characters who can be honest and open and communicative with each other. It doesn't have to be toxic. Give them what they deserve. Don't let homophobia stop them from being able to love each other. Every time Charlie was about to hang out with Nick, he would always touch his hair and look at it. And that happened at least 5 times, mind you. It was continuous. They kept every detail about them throughout the show. They didn't drop a character trait ever. It didn't go from someone who was totally confident to suddenly, who are they? So in conclusion, do I love this show? Hell yeah. I'm so here for a cheesy love story. I saw some criticism, I just started looking it up, of people saying it's too cheesy. And I know that the gays are prone to scrutinizing shows a lot, especially when it's like specifically LGBT. And in some cases I understand it. Like, yeah, not every representation is good representation, we know that. But I don't see what's wrong with a cheesy love story. If you don't like that in general, that's fine. But we don't have this. I want that. I want more of it. I want to see cute gay moments. I want to see just 2 people in love with each other, falling in love with each other. I love these types of shows mainly because I'm living vicariously, but also this would mean so much for someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of faith in finding love or doesn't believe that they deserve it. And also this is 10 times more effective than Love, Simon, just because I don't think we would ever see a scenario of 2 people on a Ferris wheel like that, even with straight people. Like, in general, I don't see that happening. I know we always say coming of age high school shows are not realistic, they don't show the high school experience. I don't think Heartstopper does that. I think they accurately do everything. This definitely does happen for some people. I mean, I've had these moments too. Like, it's just nice to see it, and it gives a lot of hope for people. And after the years of COVID, I think we deserve something like this, okay? Maybe y'all just hate happiness now. And I also appreciate how they integrated animation into it, like the way they're able to portray emotions and feelings throughout the show just through the animation of leaves or doves or stars bursting, sparks. The conversations during texting, they happen in real time. Like, you can actually feel them taking the time to read, and it's timed well, it's spaced out. It felt like a graphic novel, which is what the show is inspired on. I think originally it was a graphic novel. That's all I have about the show. I would like to review more. I know y'all want me to review Young Royals. I'm sorry, I'm working on it. But there is something magical about these shows that are not in the US. Like, just keep doing them. And it's not just their accents. That's all I have though. If you enjoyed, give this video a like. Leave a comment down below about what you thought about Heartstopper. Any reservations you have, let us know. You can have a conversation. Don't start a fight. I'll end it. I'll pull up. And don't sexualize children. Remember, these are high schoolers, so like, let's not do that. That's also one last thing. They didn't sexualize these characters. It wasn't like a soft porno of their bodies, you know? They didn't zoom in on Nick's body for like 10 seconds and turn into slow-mo with hearts around it. Like, we don't need that. We shouldn't do that, in my opinion. We shouldn't do that. I don't even care if the actors are of age. I just think it's very weird for Hollywood to focus on sex for high schoolers. Aside from that, subscribe for more videos every week from now on. I have literally no excuse unless I go on vacation or I don't have Wi-Fi. Follow my socials, specifically my Twitch, because I'll be streaming more. I got a new computer. We're building it as of right now. And by build, I mean Joey's doing it. Me build as an engineering major? Sure. And as always, I love you all, and everything is less than 3. And be on the lookout for a video next week. I talk more about why I've been gone. Like, I'll explain, and also appreciate my cat. Oh my god, you're so cute. Yes, yes.